Ugandans in North America. Thank you all for joining us for the UNAA Executive Debate 2021. I am your host and moderator, Agatha Goya. Thank you all for joining us. And in in North America, there is 120,000, over 120,000 Ugandans in North America. And every year we have new immigrants coming into the region, and there is newborns in the region. Therefore, elections matter in our community. And I hope this debate helps you make an informed decision when you're voting, because these candidates, 4 of these candidates are going to be our next UNA executive leaders, and they will have to deal with the challenges that we are facing as Ugandans in North America. I am honored to host the debate, and I am very pleased to have the candidates on here with us. Thank you all for joining us. And the candidates for tonight's debate are, we have the presidential candidates. We have Lydia Natoro, who's on Team Unity. We also have Henrietta Wamala, who is on Team Action. And the vice presidential candidates, we have Mugambe Mpima, who's an independent. We also have Joan Bavuga, who is on Team Action. And we have Albert Bakasala, who is Team Unity. And under the treasurer candidates, we have Elvis Henry Insereko, who is on Team Action. And we have Eric Gombia, who is on Team Unity. Then the executive secretary candidate, who is Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, who is on Team Unity. We also have Lambert Etibot, who is on Team Action, and we have Abubeka Mulumba Salongo, who is an independent. And the structure of the debate has been agreed on by all the participants, and it is going to be divided in 4 different segments. The first segment will be the presidential candidate segment, and the second segment will be the vice presidential candidate segment, and the third segment will be the treasurer's candidate segment, and the fourth will have the executive secretary segment. Each segment is going to have 2 questions, and every candidate will have 5 minutes to answer a question. They'll have 2 minutes to answer a question and 3 minutes to respond. You can use your 3 minutes to respond to your opponent's answer, or to add on to what you said in your answers. Okay, so let us begin the debate. I'll start with the presidential candidates. And the first topic, we have community togetherness. We have seen a lot of divide between Ugandans in North America. You find that in different states, there is different Ugandan community groups, and you'll find that there's, in the previous interviews you've been having, we've seen it is evident that there is scuffles going on within UNA. And my question is, what will you do to bring unity among Ugandans in North America and within UNA as a body? You have 2 minutes to answer. I'll start with Henrietta Wamala. You have 2 minutes to answer, and we'll give another chance to Lydia to also answer 2 minutes. And after answering the question, both of you answering the question, then we'll open for your responses.
Okay. Good evening, Miss Agatha Gochalia. This is my first time actually meeting you. Nice to have you here with us, and thank you for hosting us for tonight's debate. It's a pleasure. And also I would like to thank Mr. Chigundu from Tuchikube for giving us the opportunity and the platform to be here to talk to our members out there. That is a question that actually was even thrown out to us as candidates in 2019. How and what you would do to help to unify Ugandans in those communities that are divided. My community actually went through a division in 2013. And we are an example of a community that's coming together, a community that has actually made strides when it comes to unification. When I became president, I reached out to the leaderships of my community. And we actually started talking, and it's evident in the picnic that we just had a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, whereby we were surprised to have both presidents at the same event and actually endorsing me and my teammates as their candidate of choice when it comes to leading this organization. And why did they do that? They did that because they have seen what I have been doing in my community, and that is engaging, making sure that we come together. Now, I've also been reached by, for example, the community in California that has had divisions, and even flew down to California to actually have talks with the community down there because they were having almost the similar problems as we were having in Illinois. And I was able to engage one part of the community. I actually sent a letter to both community leaders. Unfortunately, one showed up, the other one didn't show up, but we had conversations. We reached an agreement that at least these were conversations that both sides need to keep having, because it was a cry out from the community for them to come together. So I think as a community leader, I walk my talk, and I have reached out within my own community to try to see that we make strides towards unification, which we can see is actually going to happen, because even in the endorsement speeches that my presidents made in the local organizations, they said there is no reason why we are not together. And yes, we will be together one of these days. So that's what I have done as president of UNAA, as a UCI lead woman in my own community here in Illinois. And that's what I promise to continue doing, to make sure that we get together as one. Thank you so much, Agatha.
Okay, thank you so much, Henrietta. Now we have Lydia Natoro to answer the question.
Thank you so much, Miss Agatha. Thank you so much, Mr. Chigundu, for affording us this opportunity to come here, finally, to have this debate, because we had two prior debates and Mrs. Nairobi did not show up. So I'm grateful that we have this opportunity to come here and have this dialogue, to talk to our UNA membership. And rightfully so, as leaders, we must be humble and show up. When you talk about the division in our communities and what we are going to do, the office of the vice president, that has been my job, is responsible for the overall advancement and development of the organization. And I am in lead to connect with our community leaders and work with them. Yes, our communities are divided. Yes, there's a lot of brokenness in our community, but there's a lot of work I've done too. And some people don't get to know it. And some people have been saying that I don't do anything. One of the things I live in California, Irvine. Our California community, the Southern California community, has been divided for a while. I took the first initiative, even though I did not declare it out there on social media. Reached out to the leaders, spiritual leaders, community leaders, to create a meeting so that we can talk about the brokenness in our community. Some of the leaders literally declined and refused to show up. I decided to focus on the work in my office. Why do we need UNAA to be a strong organization that can unify our communities? First of all, UNAA is divided too. So how can UNAA leaders try to divide communities when even the organization itself is broken? We need to start with the basics. We need to divide UNAA as an organization. We need to work as leaders, working together, empowering each other, listening to each other, so that when we go to our communities, rightfully so, we are speaking and taking the gospel to our communities, because we will be really selfish to ourselves and to the communities, pretending to come and unite our communities when the organization itself is broken. So we need to start from the great organization, the mother of this the mother of the communities, which is United States and Canada Incorporated. What have I done as a UNAA vice president? I've been able to bring Canada back on board. When I ran as a vice president, we brought two leaders from Canada, Councillor Justice Mirembe and Councillor Stewart. We brought them to the council. This time around, we had all 8 Canadian positions filled. That is uniting UNA to its core values. The 3 of them were not able to put in their applications on time because of the system that was sabotaged by our own executive secretary member. UNA membership knows they were not able to register on time. So we've been able to bring 4 uncontested members from Canada. That is uniting our community first. As UNA leaders, we need to focus on UNA first, but also our communities matter. Thank you so much, Ms. Agatha.
Thank you so much, Miss Lydia Natoro and Miss Henrietta Wamala. So now you have 3 minutes each to respond to each other's answers. Also, we're going to mute whoever is, just to control talking over each other. We shall mute who is not speaking. You can also use that time to add on to what you said if you don't have a response for the other, for your opponent. Okay,
Should I go first since I was actually pointed out for having not attended debates, right?
Sure, you can go.
I am so surprised that I am being accused for not attending debates when I was actually working to make sure that you have a successful convention in Cincinnati, which our vice president, unfortunately, has distanced herself away from and has vocally said, well, I did not even want that convention to go there. I wanted it to come to San Francisco. So we'll let that slide. But the people that are doing the job are actually going to be here doing the job. And I think she misspoke when she said UNA needs to be divided. No, UNA does not need to be divided. It is rightfully so that some of us at least have made strides in our own communities to make sure that these communities are actually not divided. I remember when we were making a trip down to California, Madam Lydia here was very much against us making that trip, but I actually wanted to know why we shouldn't make that trip. And when we got there, we got an earful from the people in California of what was really going on, which was not so new to me because I had gone through almost some of the similar things that they were going through. And we had a very good conversation. We even had a couple of people from the other side come and join us at Jali's restaurant, a very prominent restaurant there that people actually go and eat in Uganda. It's owned by a Ugandan. And we were actually able to really get a full picture of what's happening, such that we were able to really have a conversation to help the leaders there. I'm happy to say that today, some of those leaders have actively been engaging UNA since then, unlike maybe even in all the other past administrations. So when I also hear someone saying UNA is broken, I would like us to really know where UNA is broken and how it is broken. Because when we do not do our jobs, I think that is how UNA gets broken. Thank you so much, Agatha.
Thank you so much, Miss Henrietta. We can have Miss Lydia to respond.
Thank you so much, Miss Agatha. I would want to answer back what Miss Nero stated, that I am distancing myself from the convention. I want to take our membership to know the reality. When we came into office, the convention was supposed to be in San Francisco. We debated as an executive, rightfully so. A local organizing committee was created. They started working, doing their job. Then COVID hit. While we were in meetings, the rest of the executive voted to have a physical convention in Cincinnati. By the way, I work in the medical center at the University of California Medical Center in the Department of Laboratory and Pathology Medicine. We were in the hub in the middle of COVID. People were dying left and right from UK, and then it came here in the United States. I told the executive, I am voting no to taking an on-site convention in San Francisco. They voted yes. I want the membership to know this. I took it to the council. I read the council membership. We sat as an executive, as entire leadership. And rightfully so, the convention, most leaders refused the convention to go to San Francisco. That's why we ended up with a virtual convention. And definitely it was a success. We wanted to protect our members. Then come this year, we sat again as the executive to actually again look for another place to take the convention. My only ask was why? We had a local organizing committee. We had a state to take the convention. A budget was passed by the council. So why are we moving the convention to another state? Unless it's hidden agenda, and we all know it. I voted no to Ohio Cincinnati. I want everyone to know about this. Why did I vote no? We have UNAA members in San Francisco. We had a local organizing committee. I came to the executive, I asked, why are we taking the convention to another state? They said the local organizing committee does not want the convention. So I asked them how, where is the evidence? There was no evidence for me. And that is why I said I voted no to the convention in Cincinnati. And rightfully so, I'm going to show up as a candidate. The other ask was I did not want the executive to come to California. When we ran in 2019 after our victory, I received a phone call. Actually, it was in a meeting. It was a victory party for the president of UNAA to come to California. A victory party. It was not about coming to Unify California. And that is why I ask, all I do is to ask valid questions. How can you now turn a victory party to coming to Unify California community when your own community is broken? So I started asking questions. I said to defy. I'm like, why California? Why are you starting to come from California? And I want to ask Miss Nairobi, after California, what other state did the executive go to? Nada. No other state. So there was a hidden agenda again. But I showed up and I showed through as the vice president of Ugandans in the diaspora. Those are my answers. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Miss Agatha, do I get to answer some of those allegations that she made that are false?
Sure, you'll be given 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Miss Natolo here is lying to the people because when we went to California, I had already had a victory party in Chicago. That is a fact, in November. We only went to California in December, and I was invited by President Haruna Kabuye. I wrote to President Susan Gwakavu to tell her, this is what is on the table. I have the letters here with me. There was no victory party prepared in California, even despite the fact that I have so many friends in California. The California community that actually invited us there took us. We had a good conversation, and they had their own Christmas party. So for her to allege that they were inviting me for a victory party, that is absurd. And I'm glad that they are listening, because these are the same voters that are coming to Cincinnati. When it comes to the convention in Cincinnati, 2 budgets came to the executive, 2 scenarios, 2 budgets, one almost twice as expensive as the other one. The whole executive, with the exception of her, voted to have a convention where it was cheaper for UNAA, especially after we had come out of a pandemic. As I speak today, UNAA members are paying $240. Usually by this time you would be paying $300, but you're paying $240. Why? Because we are trying to keep the convention as on the cheaper side for members so that they can afford to come to that convention. So unfortunately, I don't know whether this is misspeaking. I don't know whether this is the same stuff we've seen out there in the public where stories are made up to try and make up for what has not been done. But I think the UNA members really need realistic answers of what we've been doing in our communities. And I'm so glad we are talking about our communities, because at least my community, it's on video. My leaders have come out and said what I have done for them. I yet have to see what her leaders have to say of what she has done in California. Thank you so much, Agatha.
Thank you so much, Miss Henrietta. Miss Lydia, do you have anything to say to respond?
It will be a short statement. Sometimes it's okay for someone to believe that they're telling the truth, where the truth can be in writing, black and white. I want the executive secretary to come here and talk about the first meeting we had, where a discussion was made that Mr. Chigoye, not even Mr. Haruna, Mr. Chigoye is inviting Madame Henrietta's team for a victory party. That was the first dialogue. If truth is so hard for people to tell, I want the executive secretary to send those minutes to the UNA membership, because he's a custodian of the minutes of our meetings. Then the meetings started to evolve from now a victory party to now coming to unite the community in California. Those are my words.
Thank you so
And
much.
again, the job of the president, the vice president, is not on focus to one community, is to focus to the communities in the United States and also in Canada. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much both for your responses and answers. And you have both talked of the role of UNA, and my next topic is the role of UNA in the community. Because we see UNA or hear of UNA most active when it's time for the convention, and we also get to hear of UNA being active when it's time for the elections. So you do not see UNA coming out actively when the community is in need. Also, you've heard of programs or forums done by the previous cabinets, where they'll be raising money from different organizations. They'll like they did raise money from MoneyGram sometime. They do have different programs when it comes to being with the community to help the community grow. However, those actions or those programs are not continued, they die out. And I want to know how you are going to better UNA management, because it looks like there's a lot of disorganization within UNA. So how are you going to better UNA management in terms of going out to the community and to see that the growth of traits that are beneficial to the community continue? I will start with Miss Lydia Natoro, please.
Thank you so much, Ms. Agatha, for that ask. How am I going to be able to better our communities as the president? First, I can say what I've done. During my tenure, we know our communities, it's not about, definitely, I want to send my condolences to all our community members who have lost their dear ones during this COVID time. I know it's been hard. I want to send my heartfelt, sincere heart towards our members who have lost jobs or who have lost their time of work during this COVID time. The times have been hard. And we've done our best to support our members who have lost their community members, their family members. One of the major things I was able to do as a vice president, which I brought on the table as a vice president, to help our members who are in prisons. Most of you might know or not know that some of our people who come to this country, the first home they go to is a prison. As we speak, during my time, my office and the support of council leadership and one council member, Ponteafa, we've been able to take out 7 of our brothers and sisters out of the immigration detention. We have 2 in Colorado, 1 Henry and 1 James. We have 3 in Boston. One David, one Issa, one John. We have a mother of two in Seattle, one Catherine. There's a pastor who was taken in jail. And I worked with other organizations to support and make sure he's not taken back, because he was going to be taken back to be put in prison in Uganda. He's now free. A total of 8, by the way. I've been saying 7. There's one I helped during my first week in the office of the vice president. One Janet in San Francisco. We have evidence. We have people who have been working with me. I brought this idea to the executive, and this is the rightful truth I know. I told my executive, one of the mandates that brought me to UNAA, I had only 3 points: to empower our youth, to help our people in immigration detentions. Because, by the way, I've been doing this work, lived in this country for 21 years. For the last 17 years, I've been doing this work. I've been to Congress, I've been to United Nations, I've been on Oprah. I've done work. Student body president, first Black female immigrant. I've done work. And that's why I came to serve in UNAA. So when I brought this idea, the only humane idea, to the executive, Madame Nairobi said, and again, I want to ask the secretary to bring those minutes, that we don't want to support criminals. Just say that. A mother. How can you call someone in immigration detention that they are criminals? That UNAA cannot be labeled to be helping criminals. And I told the executive with my own words, we have 4 executive members and 3 directors: Director of Development, Director of Finance, and Director of Communication. If I'm lying, I want all of them to come here. I want the secretary to release those statements.
Okay, thank you.
And
so
I told
much.
them I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to help our people. So if there's anything I've done for UNAA, just even helping one, but I have 8 on the list. So those are the services we need to bring to our communities. Those are the things we need to do. And that is part of our manifesto. We don't even have a manifesto. It's a social contract with UNAA members and UNAA, the diaspora at large. Because there's so many Ugandans who left UNAA. We need to bring them back home. So those are the resources we need to bring. That's how we need to unite our communities, by serving our communities. Thank you so much, Mr. Dada.
Thank you so much, Miss Lydia Natoro. Now we can have Miss Henrietta Wamala to respond.
Thank you so much, Miss Agatha. I think your question was not answered at all. It was about what she has done for the communities, which we are yet to see.
Okay, thank you. Do you want me to repeat the question?
We have been in the executive. We are yet to see those people that Madame Lydia claims to have removed from jail. We have never seen them as the executive. I am appalled that our vice president can come here and lie in front of all of you and put words in my mouth that I would never even have said. It is a shame that that is what we are getting from you, Ms. Natolo. But then we are not surprised, because we've seen what your team has been writing about me in the red papers and so on. So we are not surprised that this is what we are getting from the so-called unity, which is actually breaking up our communities by having misinformation, slander, and now we are having her come and lie in front of you on camera. This is very appalling. But I am so glad that there are some tapes that are actually there in the minutes, and we can see whether what she's saying is actually what has come out of our mouths. First of all, as I said, we've never seen anyone that has been removed from jail by you. I know you've been to Boston And I've seen on the CAGAI forum, people are condemning you for what you said, that you had removed people from jail in Boston, and they said no, we have never seen you here in Boston do that. The person that we've seen do that is Madame Rosette Serwanga. So let us not take accolades for what other people are doing in the communities and pretend that yes, we are the ones who have done them. I am not going to take that accolade when I know I have not done it. We are past that time of saying, this is the idea I'll be doing. We want to see you giving people results. And that's what they've been looking for in the past 2 years. We have been in office for 2 years now. And as we stand for office again, the people are looking at who has delivered. So we do not want people to come here and lie to people anymore. Those days are done. We want to see who those people are that you have helped. Miss Agatha, you asked, things have gone, they've gone haywire, whereby people used to even get involved in communities as leaders and help fundraise and do these things. These are the things that are supposed to be done by the vice president in UNAA. Unfortunately, as we speak, even the fundraising that would have come through the money that comes through the CDF to the communities was returned to Uganda because she failed to do that job.
Okay. When you say because she failed, both of you are saying I, we, or she, and yet it's supposed to be a unified
unit.
body.
Exactly.
So my
when
question
it comes,
was, how are you going to better UNAA management? Because you can tell that there is poor management within UNAA.
Exactly.
And how are you going to better UNAA management in terms of unifying the body as UNAA, and also going out to the community and to see the growth of traits, like previous traits that were done by previous cabinets.
Leaders.
How
yes.
are you going to grow those traits and that are beneficial to our community? We want to see something that is more of a unified body, a unified UNAA. If our leaders are going to be fighting within the body, then what is the community going to do, and how is the community going to be helped?
And that is a very good question, because the executive has 7 positions. We have 1 person who left the executive. When you see what we have been doing in the executive, even on record as we voted for everything we did in the executive, you'll find that we had 6 or 5 always agreeing on something or disagreeing on something, and we had that 1 individual who always came to disagree or undermine whatsoever the executive's agenda was. So I think when you want to have a unified body, number 1 is do the right thing as you members and vote the right people in office. When you have one body that's working together for your agenda, you'll have that done. But when you have someone who has walked in and their agenda is to undermine what the other people are doing, that is why you're going to have these infightings, as what we've been seeing from our dear vice president with the rest of the executive. And it's evident, because whatever she sided with is what was being agreed to by the council leadership. Today, as we speak, the same council leadership and her have formed the executive in team unity that's running. So I think one thing that I would ask is to, number 1, make sure that maybe the constitution is changed and we have presidents having running mates and being voted as a block, the president and vice president, so that we don't have these problems whereby you have someone who came from another team and came in to undermine whatever the other people, the majority or whoever came in with, were here to do as an executive, because that's what we have had with our dear vice president. Now, when it comes to community work, the UNAA constitution is very clear. The vice president's office is supposed to deliver that. Where she has failed, some of us have tried to step in to help the communities because we could not let them suffer. I know when I was helping the communities during COVID, They came down on me as to why am I being involved in making sure that those communities are helped. Why? Because she did not do her job then. And that is what we have today when it comes to the CDF funds. Now, if you're voting me in as president, I have promised my first act will be to make sure that the vice president that is voted in starts from day one to make sure that community needs are met. And by making sure that programs that we are rolling out in our manifestos are actually brought to those communities. We
Okay,
cannot
thank you so
have
much.
that. We cannot have that office as redundant as it has been.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Henrietta. I'll have Miss Lydia to respond to the question on how are you going to better UNA management and in terms of going out to the community and also to continue the growth of traits that are beneficial to our community in the future if you are elected.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Agatha. Let me first get back to what has been said about me. When we talk about the article that came out in the red paper, I want to let the UNA membership know that was not my job. I don't even have the time. I don't even have the heart to do that. Madame Nehru here, with her surrogates, they've created pretty much, they've been talking about, especially me, they've created enemies. They've talked nasty stuff about me, cyberbullying. Last week, she removed 2 people from the Cincinnati group. Within hours, brought one back and did not bring the other person back. So when you create your enemies, I know how to carry my crosses. I want Madame Henrietta to carry her cross. The story they talked about, they wrote in that article, is not new to Ugandans. 2019, when I was running as a vice president, I had it then. I saw it in writings. So when something is written by someone you've literally pulled down, your surrogates have literally undressed me and undressed another woman. And here you are, Madame Neruba, talking about women empowerment. I want to let the UNA membership know when I came in office, I reached out to our president. Never did she even give me one task as a vice president. Let us do this together. But rather, when I brought my ideas, they were pulled down. So when you talk about unity, which I'm bringing to UNA, by the way, and you're talking about team action, and you're pretty much sabotaging and frustrating your own vice president. The work of the vice president is to work with the president in unison. And it's so sad that we have to talk about the things now. But if we become silent, we are literally losing our job as leaders, as servant leaders, to talk about the truth. One of my members was given back their membership, was taken off the ballot paper because it was talking about what is happening behind the scenes, the things we're seeing daily. Moving on. Madame Nehru is saying that she has never seen anyone I claim to have taken out of jail. I'm not here to get accolades. No, I came to UNA to get the job done. They're young men and women. They're young men and women that have been out of jail.
You have exhausted your time for answering the question.
Thank you. Their voices are coming up. You'll see them.
Yes. So I want to move on to the vice presidential segment. You have exhausted your time for the answering the questions and for your responses. Thank you so much for your time. I will now move on to the vice presidential candidates. Thank you so much. I hope you get to be elected and to unify the community and to also manage UNA well any of you, whoever will be elected.
And our social contract is exactly to do
Thank you
that.
so much,
We
Miss
want to invite
Agatha.
everyone to vote for Lydia Natolo as your next president of UNA because the truth always speaks to itself. Thank you so much.
Okay, and we have, I cannot see Albert Bakasara, and I can't see the other
Hey,
candidate.
my brother.
Joanna, how are you?
Thank you all for joining us here.
Hey.
My name is Agatha Lois Gochalia, and I am your moderator for today. We are going to be having 2 questions for this segment, and each question is going to be, since you're only 2 candidates who have managed to avail yourselves, so we're going to be having 10 minutes for each question. And everyone will have 5 minutes for each question. You answer the question. You use 2 minutes to answer the question and 3 minutes to respond to your opponent. So the first question is community outreach. That's the first topic. We see that the community is having challenges when it comes to career guidance. They're also having challenges in repatriation support. Also, new immigrants have challenges on adapting to the way of life in North America. So what makes you a better choice than your opponent to foster better community outreach? And when it comes to career guidance, how do you plan on helping Ugandans to make the best choice in their careers without just following what everybody says that, oh, you become a nurse, or this, and some people are doing jobs that they are not happy to do. Also, how do you plan on making sure that Ugandans who have just come into North America adapt to the way of life in North America smoothly? And also, how do the people get support for repatriation? I will start with Mr. I'll start with Mr. Albert Bakasara, please.
You didn't throw that to the ladies first, but I'll go first. Thank you so much. Joanne, good to see you. Good to see you,
I
sister.
know.
Good to see you. Agatha, thank you so much. And I hope you don't mind me calling you Agatha. Thank you so much. Um, this is great. This is great. This conversation, and I was on earlier listening to the presidential exchanges, the presidential candidates exchanges. Wow, that's something. All right. So to your question, first let me introduce myself to your viewers. My name is Albert Bakasara. I'm the current deputy speaker for the UNAA Council, and you are aspiring candidate for vice president. I'm running on Team Unity. That's Madam Lydia Natolo's team. I am excited to share my views. Our Team Unity's vision of if new UNAA.
Mr. Albert, you have
Yes.
only 2 minutes to respond to the question, please.
Yes. So my question: what are we going to do regarding the communities and the aspiration for young people who are coming in this country? I will answer by building on what Madam Lydia Natolo talked about: immigration services. Most of the people who are coming in this place don't have status. I don't even want to explain that in any other in English. I would love to expound on that in a different language, but let's just leave it at that. Most of the people who are coming in this country don't have status. So as people who are already established here, we need to give them a hand to bring them in, and that's the work Madam Vice President Lydia Natol has been doing. Don't listen to what I just saw. Okay. She has actually helped 8 people come out of prison. Prisons. How do I know? Because in the middle of the night, she's called me looking for transportation. Councilor Nteyafa in Denver has housed them. So unless you're telling me Councilor Nteyafa in Denver is hosting ghosts, she has helped them. I have helped pay for their tickets to fly from wherever they've released them to Denver. So it is not true that she has not helped anybody. We're going to build on that program. We will have an 800 number and have pro bono lawyers give us hours. All we will do is coordinate a schedule for those lawyers so that whenever a Ugandan is in trouble, has just arrived in this country and needs immigration help, they can tap on that line and there will be an answer on the other side to respond, to help them, to guide them through those initial first steps. As a community, we should do more. We should have mentorship programs. Farouk Roulé, who is running, about to become a medical doctor, in one of his interviews, he said why he joined the UNAA is because he's looking for a Ugandan medical doctor to kind of guide him through the process. That is something we should be doing. We are professionals. You have engineers, we have doctors, we have a whole bunch of professionals in UNAA. Why can't we set up a mentorship program where you say, you know what? Albert Bakasara is a budget policy analyst in the federal government. There's a young person here who's interested in that career path. Why don't we team them up? You see, Mr. Mpima, thank you for joining us, sir. Why can't you join and link up a few kids with Mr. Mpima and say, Mr. Mpima is doing this great work as a professional. Team them with that person so they can be mentors.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Albert Bakasara. I'll have Miss Joan Bavuga to please respond to the question.
Oh, hi everyone. This is Joan Bavuga. I'm running for Vice President. I'm on Team Action. I'm glad to see you, Mr. Pima. I'm so bad with names. Hi, my brother. Hi, Mr. Bakasara. All right.
I'm glad you remember mine.
Albert, you better stop.
Okay, you have 2 minutes to respond.
All right. To respond first to the immigration. I am an immigrant. I came here, I applied for my asylum. So I have gone through it. I lived it. I went to, there is a shelter called Freedom House. That's where I got help from, they have legal services that they render to immigrants from Africa, even North America. So whenever I receive someone who is from Uganda or anywhere, not necessarily Uganda, I advise them to go there and seek for legal advice. One thing I have come to realize, you will meet people who are going to give you wrong advice. Hey, first thing, immigration websites are so clear. So if you sit with someone and you guide them, yes, we have now, like with Mr. Mpima, is there doing it? So, hey, my brother, I'll be sending people to you. That's for sure. Another thing about the jobs, you said people are doing bad jobs they don't like doing. That's one thing.
People are doing bad jobs. I said people are struggling with making career choices, and they end up doing jobs that they don't like.
Whenever I meet, like, especially like the young kids, I advise them to go back to school. We get here and we are told, you know how home we are told some like classes to do. You go and be a nurse, you go and be a doctor. I ask them, what do you wish to be? What do you think you can do better? So here I am planning to have student exchange programs whereby we will be like people who have gone through it are going to mentor other kids, are going to, we are going to be able to create those. That's why we want UNAA not to be only hard about only conventions. We need to have a year-round UNAA where these kids can meet. They can also have their own conventions. They can also have their own.
Thank you so much, Miss Joan Bavuga. You've exhausted your time for the response. I will now go to Mr. Mugambe Mpima, who has just joined us. I don't know if you got to hear the question or if you did not.
I request that you repeat the question, ma'am.
Okay. My question was, why are you a better choice than your opponent to foster better community outreach when it comes to career guidance? Ugandans adapting to the way of life in North America when they've just come into the country, and also getting repatriation support for those that are in need.
Thank you, Agatha. My name is Impima Mugambe from Seattle. I'm running for vice president. Whatever my brother Albert Bakasala has said, and whatever my sister Joan Bavuga has said, I have done it. Coming to this job with all this experience. That's why they were referring to me. When it comes to career guidance, why I'm a better choice. We in Immigrant Guide nonprofit organization that I founded 2.5 years ago, we created a program called Immigrants and Refugee Career Pathways Project, where we requested volunteers from our communities to sit on a committee to review personal statements and applications for Ugandans interested in enrolling in college. And for the period of time that close to 1.5 years, we've managed to help 7 individuals enroll in graduate school. And one of the schools, it's my school where I went, the University of Washington School of Social Work, and vocational colleges like Bates College and other vocational colleges in California. This is what we need. It's not just telling people or telling our Ugandans that, oh, go back to college, go and advance, go to school. But how do we help them? How do they get to know the right programs? We have a mentality that you have to only do health work or go and pursue health careers, but there are other careers like accounting, in vocational like mechanics, plumbing, etc. We have helped them and we've helped them apply, including writing personal statements and securing scholarships. When it comes to before that, we help them go through the immigration process. And my colleagues have talked about referring to organizations. For us, we are way above that. We created an app which is called Immigrant Resource Guide. Unfortunately, it cannot be visible or on the camera. But when you go to www.immigrantguide.io, we are having a prototype that we are selling to our donors so that we can make it bigger and use it in all communities and in all countries worldwide. These are the services we need to use to leverage technology to support our communities through immigration, to pursue better careers, to get scholarships and all other services. And that's how we are going to support our youth, and definitely securing grants for them. How are you going to implement all these programs without funds? UNAA today has only one donor in Kampala, the Uganda government, who brings in just 100,000. We have millions floating around.
Thank you so much. And now each of you has 3 minutes to respond to either of you, to respond to your answers and or to add on to what you said. And I'm going to cut you off if you exhaust your 3 minutes. So we'll start with Miss Joan Bavuga, please.
Oh, so my question is, Pima, how different is it from referring someone to an immigration service or to your app? How different is it? Isn't it the same thing? Don't you all guys do the same thing, but from different channels?
Thank you very much. The reason why we created this app or mobile phone application, it's because it's culturally responsive. Very many immigrants find it difficult walking into those spaces in nonprofit organizations, which are mostly white-centered, Eurocentric, and so formal, for them to express themselves freely. So we decided to create this culturally responsive mobile phone application so that people can access it swiftly on their mobile phones.
Okay, I'm still on my time.
Application doesn't
Mr. Mpima, are you trying to tell us that everything is done on the app and that's it? They get their documents via the app? They don't have to go for interviews and stuff?
That's where I'm coming to, ma'am. May I respond?
Yeah, please go ahead, because I'm trying to understand how you're going to only use a mobile phone and get your asylum approved.
No,
That's unheard of.
non-profit organizations don't approve asylum cases, and a mobile phone application definitely can't. But a mobile phone application is the bridge between an individual and a social servant or a social service provider out there, non-profit organization. When we talk about non-profit organizations, they have open and close hours. Our mobile phone application creates an avenue for those non-profit organizations to respond to our immigrant needs 24/7. When you go to that prototype we put on the website, immigrantguide.io, you can see that we have lawyers who can respond 24/7. We have organizations or non-profit organizations that can respond to our immigrants 24/7. And assuming ICE knocks on my door right now, and my app or that application was running already, it's just a matter of pressing the emergency button, and a lawyer somewhere will receive a notification and they will respond to my immigration need. This is the way we want to leverage technology and support our immigrants. And UNA needs such technology or individuals in that office of the vice president to implement programs and
Okay,
projects
thank you so
that are
much.
going to
I'll
support.
now have Mr. Albert Bakasara to respond to any of you. Your microphone is still muted, Mr. Albert.
No, I was saying no, thank you. I'll let those guys have that conversation. I'll answer I'll add on to the part that I did not get to respond to in my initial response, and that's the part of repatriation.
Okay.
I have seen the efforts of repatriation, and some people out there have said, "Oh, the council, some leaders like Albert Bakasara were opposed to the repatriation program that the president and a couple of people were pushing." Well, let me give you briefly. That is not an adequate program for our community, and if it's somehow flaring out there, it's not because of me. It's because there's a deficit of trust between our organization and our community. People have, you just saw a debate between, you just asked these two leaders and you saw the accusations, lie, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying. How can people trust you with the most important decision of their life, and that is life insurance and repatriation programs, when you're that dysfunctional? Okay, so we have that deficit of trust in the community that we need to bridge before we can get to a proper repatriation program. What I appeal to you, especially some of us who are young and responsible and have families, please do not go out there and buy a life insurance, whether a repatriation program or whatever they call it. That just it's just buying yourself a casket to take you back to Masaka, Kabarole, or Ntinda, or wherever you come from. That is not a progressive way of our community. This is a land of opportunities. You don't come in here and just buy yourself a coffin and a ticket to send you back home to your grave. That is not progressing our community at all. What I have advocated for is for people to go out there and be informed about insurance products out there and pick an insurance product that actually works and protects their family. Life insurance is not for the dead. It's for the living. It's for the kids and the people, your fathers, your family, your friends, your relatives, and the obligations and the love. If you love UNA, leave us some money. It's for us, the living, not you who have died. Okay? So yes, our communities have had a hard time. But the best way is not to take advantage of them in this really sorrowful period to sell them some inadequate product. It's
Okay,
a
thank
scheme,
you so
a
much,
scam,
Mr.
basically.
Albert. Thank you so much. I'll have Mr. Mugambe Mpima to, if you have any response to any of your opponents, please go ahead.
I will not actually respond to any cause. It so happens that to some extent I agree with Mr. Bakasara, but I will also add something or maybe differ a little bit. The cost of insurance also matters. I understand the program that had been introduced by UNA initially it was like a basic uh, product or a basic level, whereby if you don't have life insurance and maybe you cannot manage having the expensive life insurance, whereby you save a little bit and also prepare for your family in case you go or in case you pass on, well, you can buy this that can help relieve the burden of repatriating you back to Uganda or even burying you here. from the community when you die. Like it was like an entry level to the entire process of buying insurance. Unfortunately, because of the divisions we had arising from the team politics, which I'm totally discouraging members of UNA to pursue anymore in this election, we ended up losing that. We ended up having the council, which you led, Mr. Albert Bakasara, fight this idea. Instead of bringing even new ideas or better ideas, you just fought the idea. And today, UNA members don't have a better product for the community in case they pass. I would say every individual who dies today and we have to fundraise, it's on your hands.
Okay, thank you
May I
so
respond
much,
to that?
Mr. Mugambe Mpima. You'll have 1 minute to respond to that, please.
Yeah. So what he just said is not true. We did not fight the executive, and it was not even the executive's idea. It was the council idea. So get your facts straight. It was the council's idea, led by Speaker Maureen Kalemba out of Boston, because in the initial days of COVID, Boston lost a lot of members. Maureen brought that idea to the table. Madam Henrietta thought of taking that idea out of the council and hand it to one person, council members, to lead. It did not fail because we opposed it or fought it. It failed because the person and the executive that was supporting that person to sell it could not answer basic questions like, who was going to lead it? Why was the break-even point in case 6 or 5 people died in a row in a community? And if the fund did not have enough funds, who was going to chip in the rest? Those were the basic questions. If you can answer them now, then be my guest. If you can't, then you would also have been one of the people saying no to that exercise. And also, I did tell you that it failed because of the mistrust that the community have. One of the best sayings in this was a saying from Councillor James Mogeni, who said, lepers do not sell meat, meaning UNA is distrusted. It cannot be the organization that leads this community program. We have to build that trust with our members first before we can go out there and sell.
Let's move on to the next question, and our next topic is about mental health. We have seen that our community is facing a big challenge of mental health. You've heard of people who have committed suicide. People are being depressed in their homes, and we do not know as a community, or it is not an addressed issue largely by UNA. So how would you address the mental health issue affecting the community if you're elected? I will start with Mr. Albert Bakasara.
Thank you so much for the question. I'm probably going to be one of the honest people you'll have on this show this evening. No. I'm a qualified budget policy analyst. I work on fiscal policy. My MBA is in finance. I have another one in information technology and services. I do not have training, and somebody like Mr. Mpima, who has social work experience, can talk about that. It's a need, it's a service that we can tap into. The only thing I can talk about, which is in our program of how we'll address that, is part of providing services to our communities. I don't have that expertise, but in one of my master's degree in information services, the advantage of that is that I know where to find the information.
Okay.
I know where to find the information, and I will go look for that information and we'll put it in our program. Once we build a pipeline and trust with our community, I will go find that information and we'll put a program and I will be there. And if I have to go and look for somebody like Mr. Mpima or Ms. Joanne Bavuga, who have expertise in that field, I will go and find them and will implement that program. The key is to provide these services for UNA members, not to just leave them out there because somehow we are unable to or we don't want to.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Albert. And now I'll have Ms. Joanne Bavuga to please respond to the question.
Hi, thank you for that question. First of all, we all know with mental health, we have this stigma that we do not open up. You do not just open up to anybody and talk about mental health, especially with our cultures. So first, you have to be a person that is able to create a safe space for someone to trust you, to be able to open up and say that they have that issue. And this is something that is lacking in our communities. The former, the previous administrations, they've not been creating those safe spaces whereby every member of the community is willing to say what problems they are facing. No one is really relating to the communities. So this is where you need someone who has got experience, like with working with everybody, someone who is approachable, someone who is willing to listen, because there is no way someone is going to talk to you about their problems if you don't listen to them. And listening is not only, hey, through your ear and out. No, listening is to attentively listen and get solutions to their problems. So what we will do, one thing I want to do, we've talked about mentorship. Yes, we've been going through so many things in our communities, especially like kids who are doing drugs, kids who are committing suicide. All this is coming around because they don't have, maybe they might be able to open up to me, but they're not opening up to someone else. So we need to create that space, safe space where everyone will be able to come out and say, and be, how can I call it? And be and they're easy to approach you, and they're easy to talk to you about the issue. Is like mental health is so sensitive, you cannot just discuss it with anyone. So
All
I'll
right,
be
thank you so much, Miss Joan Bavuga. I'll have Mr. Mugambe Mpima to respond to the question.
Thank you for the question, Agatha. Mental health is a very big problem in our community. And for the last 14 years, I've been implementing programs on mental health through theater, participatory theater, drama therapy, especially the last 2 years. And currently, I'm working with students from Colby College in Maine to use participatory theater with DEI approaches to respond to this topic. During COVID-19, I engaged children with special needs to who were developing behaviors because of the pandemic, staying at home and change of routine, to through drawing pieces or art-based approaches, going through using art-based approaches like the one you see in my background. Kids were able to express themselves and relieve off that stress and that burden and open up through speaking what was bothering them and causing them to have behaviors. And in the process, I managed to write a book called The Art of Engaging Special Needs Children, which is going to be launched in January 2020. It's still going through the editors. So when it comes to mental health, I've been key in my community, engaging children in creating brave spaces, much as my sister Joan Bavuga is referring to them as safe spaces, but a safe space cannot be safe without brevity and trust. So I call them brave spaces where kids can come or youth can come and fully express themselves and pour out. In California, every year I organize an event called Let's Talk Mental Health through an organization I founded 2 years ago. Let's Talk Mental Health gives an opportunity to adults to open up and talk about this topic, because it's not common in our community and culture to express, oh, we think mental health, you have to go to Butabika, or mental health is for the weak or women. We get to think that men do not suffer depression or other kinds of mental health, which is pretty alarming. So I've managed to bring these programs to the community. And when it comes to our UNAA members, I would like to cover the entire United States with programs that are people-centered, community-centered, and community-inclusive.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mugabe. Does any of you have any response to any of your opponents?
Yeah, I want to say something about the insurance. I believe basic insurance is better than no insurance. Reason being that $1,000 is better than nothing when you are in trouble. You get a foundation where to start from. So once you say that insurance, life insurance is not needed, we are buying coffins for ourselves. My brother Kasara, that's not right. We need to prepare. The fact is we are all going to go. I have 2 kids. If I don't prepare now, tomorrow I die. I'm a single mother. Where do they start from? So my basic insurance, life insurance, is better than no insurance. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you so
And
much.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I do have. I was gonna respond to Mr. Mpima Mugambe, but now I can respond to Mr. Bavuga since we have limited time. So I never said you're putting something that I never said. I never said that the basic insurance was not necessary or somehow I opposed it. I said the program died because the people who wanted to institute it were not trusted by the community. That was one. Secondly, I said we asked questions in the council that they could not answer. So instead of answering our questions, they decided to blow the whole council up. Okay.
My brother, you said
It's my time, man.
it's
It's
not
my
good
time, man.
to buy coffins for ourselves. So don't.
With all due respect, it's my time, man. I would love to have a lady to talk to me all night, but it's my time. So no, what I said is this: the idea of what was being pushed out there was not saying, "Hey, go out there and find an adequate insurance for you and your kids, and then if you can't, for those of you who can't, buy this basic one." They went out there advertising a repatriation program, and that I was saying, it's not even in our culture. It's not proper for you as an able person to just go buy yourself a coffin and a ticket to get you back home. I am repeating that it's not a progressive idea for us or for our community. We should do this, and this is what Team Unity will do. We will go out there and find insurance partners. We will develop trust with our UNAA membership so they can trust us. And when we find those partners, we will have subsidized prices. I'm a member of the federal government insurance program. I pay pennies on the $100,000 policies that I have. Okay, we can do that, whereby instead of getting this insurance that you pay in and getting $30,000 to take your coffin back home and pay for your ticket, you can actually get 100,000. That comes out of negotiations with companies. If Miss Nairobi has not been able to do that, that was okay. She tried. I've been saying this and people are laughing. I said, "Omumpi wakuna
Well,
wakwata." That's what she was able to do.
if
I will
I
go
may
out.
ask you only one simple question. When
Thank
they
you so
brought
much.
that
And
to
I
you,
have not
did
yet given you
you?
the chance to speak, Miss Joanne Bavuga. I will have Mr. Mugambe Mpima for his response.
I'm sorry. I would like to first call out Mr. Albert Bakasara for
Go ahead.
being sexist. We are having a female identified candidate in our race running against 2 men. You standing here and saying that you would like to have a female, or you calling out her gender in that context, it's sexist, and I would like to call you out for it.
Yeah,
You
but
do
you're
not have
wrong.
to, you do not
You're
have
wrong.
to
You're
announce
wrong, and
her
Thank you.
gender. You
you're
do
wrong,
not
and you're
have to
just sitting.
announce her gender. You do not have to announce her gender when calling her out. She has a name. And I'm
You're
saying this.
wrong.
I'm
You're
saying this
wrong, Mr. Mpima. You're
because
wrong. You're wrong, and you're just seeking attention.
I'm calling
Miss
you
Joanne,
on principle,
Joanne and I are
Mr.
good,
Albert
very good
Bakasara.
friends, and they
So I'll
don't.
now go ahead.
Like I
I'll
said,
now go ahead.
I am saying
Thank
you
you.
are wrong, and you're just seeking attention. I'm saying
Can you
to
go
you,
ahead, Mr. Mpima, please?
Thank you. Mr. Albert, uh, I appreciate that you said earlier that you do not have the experience when we are responding to the issue of mental health. You do not have experience in implementing such programs. You are good at budgets. I think everyone is able to understand that Mr. Albert Bakasara is good to be a treasurer, but he did not utilize that opportunity to go for that position. Or he's good at policy. Mr. Albert Bakasara should have come back as a council member to stay in the council and remain as the speaker. But right now, is here without a program, without the ability to implement programs or create programs for UNA members, and he's asking for an office that is mandated by the Constitution of UNA to do outreach in your communities. Outreach means seeking out programs that are going to work for you to respond to our mental health, to respond to our youth needs, to respond to our community or women needs. Unfortunately, Mr. Albert Bakasara has no expertise and experience in all this. Why is he wasting our time here?
Okay. We have exhausted our time for this segment. Thank you all for being here. And next, we are going to have the segment with the treasurer candidates. Thank you all for being here. And I hope the audience
We're
gets to
done?
vote for the best. I hope the audience gets to vote for the best candidate. You've all gotten to hear what they have to say. The next segment is with the treasurer candidates, and the topics are accountability and transparency. Can we have the treasurers on if they're available? Oh. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Elvis Nsereko and Mr. Eric Gombia. So we have this segment. Each question is going to be, it's going to have 10 minutes. Each one of you will have 5 minutes, using 2 minutes to respond and 3 minutes to answer to each other, to debate between each other. The first topic is accountability. There is a big challenge when it comes to record keeping and doing, and audits have not been done. So if you're elected, what changes will you bring into the treasurer's office to ensure that there is accountability? I'll start with Mr. Eric Gombia, please.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Just want to give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Eric Gombia.
Okay,
I'm,
and
I'm
sorry, do not forget that you have 2 minutes to respond to the
yeah,
question.
yeah. So my name is Eric Gombia. I'm a certified accountant, certified internal auditor, and a certified fraud examiner. I live in DMV area. So regarding accountability, I've been a member in UNA for the last 7 years, and I've noticed there's so many financial issues regarding accountability. Um, UNA, UNA members are required to see the financials from the executives. They're supposed to release those financials on an annual basis for certain financials, and then there's the quarterly financials, which are supposed to be released every after the end of the quarter. So for the last 7 years, I haven't been seeing it being done, and one of the reasons why it's not being done is because I feel like the executives, the whole UNA membership and the executives themselves, they haven't been keeping records, financial records. So when I come into power as the new treasurer, my first thing I want to work on is making sure that financial records are kept. We need to have financial controls in place that require the treasurer to keep records. For best accounting practices, you're supposed to keep records for around 7 years. So that's something we need to implement. So we need to have controls. So when I come into power as a new treasurer, I plan to bring up new controls, financial controls, to make sure at least the treasurer keeps financial records. So those financial records are very vital when you're going to do audits, because per constitution of UNA, they're supposed to be the financials are supposed to be audited on an annual basis, and you can't have an audit without financial records. So you're always going to get like a negative audit when you don't have financial records. So I plan to introduce new controls in place to make sure at least UNA keeps records for a period of around 7 years, which is for the best accounting practices.
Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'll have Mr. Elvis Henry Serko to please respond to the question.
Thank you very much. Agatha, the reason why I stood in for this position for treasurer for UNA, I've been around UNA for quite some good time, and I've seen how things have been moving on. I've had a chance to work with former treasurers, and I've got to know their strengths and the weaknesses and what needs to be put in UNA. UNA needs someone who is ready for accountability, for transparency and communication. UNA has lacked all this accountability. Uh, Most especially, like if financials were done, they were not published out there. UNA membership need to know how their financials are going. My main reason why I'm coming on board is to have an awareness, to always inform people or to form members on how their finances are moving. And this is the one reason that communication is very great. You may have the financials, but you may not display them. So my agenda is to have accountability and awareness so that members get to know on what they are supposed to be doing. I've had a great experience. I've worked as an auditor with Ernst& Young, one of the great four companies for auditing in the world. So I have great experience with budgeting, great experience with accounting, financial statements. My aim is to make sure that UNA financials are correctly audited. A good budget must be out there when it needs to be up there. Awareness, communication, and transparency is what UNA needs right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now you have 3 minutes to respond to your opponent's response or to add on to what you've already said for this question. I'll start with Mr. Eric Gombia if you have any response or anything to add on.
Sure. I just want to add on to what Mr. Elvis has said regarding accountability. When we're releasing financials to the UNA members, timeliness matters. Um, for financials which are completed in the financial year, you are required to release those financials within 3 months after the end of the year. But I've noticed currently with what's happening right now, like a financial year can end and then they release the financials after 6 months. So the members are not going to have confidence in those financials because the more time you have, the more time you can. There's a term in accounting called cooking books. So the reason why they put that timeline is that accountants are supposed to release those financials within time because you gotta have all the records around. But the more time you have, the more time you can come up and bring in numbers which weren't there. So that's one thing we need to work on as the treasurer, UNA treasurer. I plan to work on that so that at least UNA members can have the confidence of the way UNA is being handled in the financially, so that they can see the financial reports and they have confidence in them. The same goes to the quarterly reports. For the quarterly reports, it's usually 3 months report. You are required to release those reports within the first month after the end of the quarter. But if you wait for 6 months and then you release quarter one, and then you wait for another 8 months and then you release another quarter, then that doesn't make sense in the financial way. So that's something I plan to work on. I'm gonna work on the timeliness of releasing those financials so that UNA members can be able to see how the organization is operating in the financial way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And does Mr. Elvis and Serko have a response?
Yes. To add on that, I may say that I've had experience with working big companies that you deal with billions and trillions of money. UNA at most has like, for the companies I've dealt with, UNA has little pennies that even you don't need to spend a whole 3 months working on. You only need like, I may say, a month when everything is done and out there. So this is where transparency is needed. If you know the money coming out and the money going out, this is has very little money that you don't even need to waste a lot of time. Doesn't need like someone coming from Mars to come and work on UNA expenditure and revenues. Also, a question I may have for Eric, like he came in to to be nominated for the position of finance director for finance, but he didn't go through. So I don't know why he had to come back this time for this position of treasurer. I don't know which things it has that is going to make it this time around.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just want to talk about that. So from the prior executive, there was a vacant position for director of finance. So they wanted to bring me on as the director of finance, but there was a transition to the next executive. So the whole process wasn't finished. So they didn't get back to me. So the whole process wasn't finished. So the only reason why I wanted to come in as a director of finance is because the treasurer during that past executive like wanted me to come out to assist the organization, but there was some frustration with the other executives due to some internal politics that was there. So actually that's the reason why they didn't bring me on. So when Lydia came up from Team Unity and came to me, she wanted me to run as a treasurer on her ticket. And I decided to do that because I know Lydia. Lydia, she's a person of great integrity, because I want to work with people that have the highest level of integrity. Because as a certified accountant, I'm required to have the highest level of integrity and professional ethics. So I need to work with an executive that share the same value as mine. Because if I don't, and I identify issues within the organization, and I don't speak about them, then I could lose my certification for that. So when Lydia came in and wanted me to run as a treasurer on her ticket, I decided to do that to run with Team Unity because I know them. I know Lydia, I know Albert, I know Maureen. They're people of great integrity and the people I can work with. So that's the reason why I decided to come on and then to come on as a treasurer here.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And the next topic is about transparency. You have both talked about transparency. There have been issues of money missing in the treasurer's office in the previous cabinets. And what makes you a trustworthy choice, and how transparent do you plan to be?
I can
I'll
start
start
on
with
that. Yeah.
Mr. Eric Bombia.
Yeah.
Please go
So I can
ahead.
start with that. So as a certified accountant and a certified auditor and fraud examiner, I'm required by the bodies where I'm a member, I'm required to have the highest level of professional ethics and integrity. So everything I do, whether in my professional role or in my voluntary role, like if I'm elected as the new treasurer, I'm required to have that level of integrity. So I have to keep that level of integrity while I'm working as part of UNA. Like as a treasurer, if I'm working as a treasurer, I have to keep that level of integrity. So that's something that's very important to me. So in any way, I cannot mess up. Like if I become a treasurer, I cannot mess up, because if I mess up, I'm gonna lose my certification for that. So for that, I have to have the highest level of integrity. So that's something I do in my professional role, and even if I'm elected as the new treasurer, I'm gonna do it in my voluntary role as the new treasurer. So that's something I plan to work on, because I cannot be involved like in misappropriation of funds. I've seen it happening. It has happened from the past executives, and one of the reasons why that happens a lot is because UNA lacks financial controls. There are no checks and balances within UNA that to help to reduce on those kind of incidences. As an
Okay.
auditor, there's
And
one thing
so,
we
how do
talk
you plan
about
to
here.
bring in the balances
So
within you?
if I'm elected as a new treasurer, I plan to come up with a written financial policy with financial controls in place, and then I want it to go to the full executive, to the council, and to the board, so that they can discuss about it. We need controls around keeping financial records. We need it to have it to be written, so that even if the next executives come in, they're going to follow the same controls. We need controls around expenses, and we need controls around funding. We need controls around budgeting. So when I come in as a new treasurer, I'm gonna work on those financial controls, because that's what I do in my professional job. I do controls. I create controls. I even test controls. So that's something I do most of the time. So I plan to bring it on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll have Mr. Elvis Henry Nsereko to respond to the question, please.
Thank you. To begin with, transparency, especially in UNA, it has to begin with you, with an individual. So what I'm looking at, transparency looks at communication. Transparency looks at decision making. Transparency looks at critical thinking. Transparency looks at personal skills. It has to begin with you before even looking at the books on accounts that you have to work on. Transparency begins with you, the individual who's going to work on these finances. We've seen very many auditors messing up financials for companies because they're not transparent. So transparency has to begin with you. I've got a chance to work with Madame Henrietta, the current president of UNA. She's a very, very knowledgeable woman. She brought me on this team, and I went through all what they've already have, and she's put measures. If you look at the financials for UNA, the prior years, people have been moving with debit cards, credit cards for the organization in their pockets. People have been signing personal checks on UNA accounts. People have been going out with UNA money for UNA. So one thing that I came on board and I talked about with Henrietta is we have to have controls. And one of the things that any money going out of the organization account has to have at least 2 signatories. This is whereby you have controls in check. You get to know how money is being spent. You get to know the money coming in. So this will help UNA also to grow revenues. In which way? That if we go out there to look for donations, we already have straight financial accounts that are moving, that someone can give you money based on what you already have on books. So this is one of the things that I'm looking at, to look at for transparency that has to begin with you, then move it on other members. That's how UNA looks to have a good financial standing, and that's how we'll be able to increase revenues for UNA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now you have 3 minutes each to respond to each other, and I'll start with Mr. Eric Gombia, please.
So I have a question for Mr. Elvis. The current Vice President Henrietta, she has been leadership for so many years. Right now, she has a current treasurer, but I'm wondering how come they don't have financial controls yet. So why is she bringing you on right now? Why couldn't she do it with the prior treasurer? So I want to figure out why she wasn't involved in helping out in those kind of instances whereby they can create financial controls. So I don't know if you'll be able to work with her, if from the previous treasurer those things were lacking. So I'm wondering, how are you going to work with her when that wasn't being done from executive? Yeah.
First thing I'll tell you that I'm not answerable for why the current treasurer is not coming back on board. People have other responsibilities. So for that one, I can't answer for him. So why he's not coming back. But when I went and sat with the current treasurer and Madame Henrietta, we're able to know, and she has done a very great work. If I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the financials for UNA right now, everything is being streamlined. If you say you've been in UNA for quite some time, you look at the financials right now on books, and you look at the financials back in, let me say, 5 years back. Trust me, there is a very big difference. Because when I was coming on board, I said I need to first look on how things are done and what I'm bringing on board. So when I told her what I have and what I think that it's good for the camp, for the organization, she thought that, oh, I'm a good fit. And I tried to talk with the current treasurer. She told me where he is right now, so where I expect to take off from. And this is the reason that I'm coming on this board. There was a lot of problem solving. UNA can't be fixed in one day. Madame Henrietta, in the 2 years that she has served, she has done a lot, and a lot needs to be done. This is the reason that I'm coming on board, to put on more effort that she's been working on, to go on with the work that she's doing.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Eric Gombia and Mr. Elvis Nseriko, for honoring the invite to the debate. And we have come to the end of your segment. So next we're going to have the executive secretaries. That's the next segment, and which also has two topics, which is general record keeping and convention organization. Can we have the executive secretaries here, please? Thank you so much. It's time for the Executive Secretary Candidate segment debate. I see Mr. Abubakar Mulumba is here and Mr. Lambert Etibot is here too, and Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalemba is also here. Thank you so much for all being here. I'll start with the first question, which is 15 minutes. Each of you will have 5 minutes to answer. I cannot see the videos or the faces of the candidates. Can they please unveil themselves?
Yes, looks like Abu Baker came online. I am wondering whether Lambert is back there or maybe he stepped away. And okay, there's Maureen.
He's there.
And Lambert will try to reach out on the side, but you please continue with this.
It looks like he's also coming in. Okay, and the first question is going to be for general record keeping. There is lack of documentation in UNAA, and yet we very well know that good communication, it comes from good record keeping. Good continuity also comes from good record keeping, which also aids strategic direction for the next leaders when they come into power. It also helps to improve on the work that you have done. So how do you plan on getting reports done in each department to ensure continuity? I'll start with Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, please.
When they talk about record keeping, a lot is taken in consideration. I go by the names of Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, and I'm aspiring to be the Executive Secretary for UNAA in the upcoming elections in Cincinnati, Ohio. So what I would do to keep my record straight, I always say, if you're not a good organizer, you have failed the system. Record keeping is taken into account from the first day you have a record in your hands. You gotta document it by date, time, month, and the season. And the season, I mean the quarters. You gotta have the quarterly record keeping. And you have to have a summary of all the records you have in that quarter, and you have to publicize it so that people know that in this quarter, with the records you have, this is what you did. And that is exactly how I'll keep my records, by notifying the members, by keeping them in chronological order in an organized way, and then one would be able to find them on the website by month, date, time, and the season, and their training. That is what I'll do in a nutshell. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Maureen Asimwe. I'll have Mr. Abubakar Mulumba to please respond to the question.
Abubakar Mulumba, my name. I'm a seasoned journalist, and currently I'm a behavior therapist. So about records and how best we can keep them and how best we can improve communication. I'm one person who is advocating for an office for for UNA, because if we have an office, that means we have our records kept at one place, and we'll have accountability of everything that is supposed to be under key and lock, and everything that has to be accessed by the community, and that things don't need to be accessed by the community. So I advocate for an office that has a permanent employee who can be there, asked anything, because we are doing voluntary work, and sometimes you can call my phone and I'm busy, and you need an answer as soon as possible. But if I have a person in office, that person will pick that call and will pick the question, and that person can reach out on me anytime. So as a mass communicator, I will emphasize on communication. Today we are in the world of social media, and one of the things that I look at and laugh now is the UNA social media platforms that we have at hand now. You find a picture on a UNA Facebook that needs to be that is put there as a communication to the community, and only 2 people respond to it, only 2 people like it. So we need to use whatever is available, whatever means is available to improve the communication, and we need to use these are sensitive documents. We need to have them kept properly, and that person is none other than me, or next executive secretary of UNA.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abubakar Mulumba. I'll have Mr. Lambert Etibot to please respond to the question. And since you have just joined us, I will repeat the question for you. How do you plan on getting reports done in each department to ensure continuity, the reports for general record keeping or documentation, as you may call it?
Thank you so much, Agatha. Thank you for this platform. For the viewers out there, my name is Lambert Etibot. I'm the current UNA Executive Secretary. So just to answer that question very briefly, we already have things in place to address that. As of today, UNA records are actually straight. The next thing we're going to be working on is the PR for UNA. And for those of you that have been paying attention, you realize that some people in UNA leadership have been part of the bad PR that the organization has had. But it's not the priority right now. In the next coming days, you will be seeing a lot more changes in the PR of UNA, because this is a step-by-step process. Today, we have 700 members strong, okay? The members that we have, we are responding to the feedback we get from them. This is a member-driven organization. The things that we put in place, we coordinate with the members of the organization. We cannot listen to everybody out there. We are 150,000 plus in North America. We cannot answer to all those people. We answer to the UNA membership. And the feedback they give us is what we work with. So to answer you on record keeping, the records of UNA are straight. Today, we are no longer delinquent like, how it was a little in the past with the state of Massachusetts. We have a constitutional review committee that's currently working on the UNA constitution to determine the issue of Texas versus Massachusetts. Once that is set, we will have whichever state was supposed to be in active and working. UNA is also registered in Texas, by the way. So we still have both places active. Thank you so much. I yield back to you, Agatha.
Okay, thank you so much. I want you to please elaborate on the part where you said UNA only answers to its members. So UNA's mandate or UNA's obligation is to only the members in UNA, or is it to the general Ugandan community in North America? Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, UNA is a member organization. We answer to the members of UNA. It is how we are constituted. It's how we were formed. This is how it should be. So if anybody loves UNA, they join UNA. I'll give you an example. Well, I could give you an example of the Rotary Club, okay, or any other charity that's member-driven, okay. It's only answerable to its members. You don't answer to everybody out there. That's not how it works.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I'll give a chance to each one of you to respond to any of the answers of your opponents. I'll start with Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, please. If you have any response.
The response I have is that we have to fight to get information or our records out there in order for the UNA or UNA members to know what is happening in the Executive Secretary's office. So if you're saying that we are up to date, many members even did not know that we have online voting or we do not have online voting. We still have to preach that to the members. If in our record keeping, we were straight and had distributed that email from your office, Mr. Executive Secretary, this would not happen. We wouldn't have people still asking that question of online voting and on-site voting. So I would say that with my office and with me in power, I'll make sure that the last man standing in UNA knows the records, that the records are speaking on-site voting or online voting, or the records are speaking that this is the finances we have and this is where we're in deficit, or the records are speaking, these are the current members of the executive and these are the current members of the BOT. Generally, the records of my administration will be speaking to the people exactly what is happening in the executive office of the secretariat than what is speaking right now, because right now information.
Okay, thank you so much for that response, Ms. Maureen. I can now go to Mr. Abubakar Mulumba Salongo if you have any response.
I don't have any response. I will just emphasize what I'm supposed to do for the community, and that's effective communication. I'll try to make sure that UNA ceases to be only talked about during the convention and during the election year. I'll make sure that every time I have a plan of putting up a publication that will be coming out quarterly. And even then, I'll make sure that I use the social media platforms that we have to communicate at least on a weekly basis, so that we don't wait for the convention and see people being very active. That energy that we use during the convention is the energy we can use during the everyday basis of running the organization. So I emphasize communication. As a mass communicator, I say, I'll make sure that UNA is in the people's ears every day. Okay. There's a lot there to be talked about, and there's a lot to be told, and there's a lot people should know every day.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Lambert Etibot, do you have any response? Mr. Lambert? Okay, I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, we are going to move on to the next topic, which is convention and voting organization. Mr. Lambert and Miss Maureen, you have talked about UNA members and voting. We have noticed that there is a lot of disorganization when it comes to getting people to register for the convention. Also, activities have been scheduled to be done on the convention they do not happen when the convention comes. And also, when it comes to online voting and on-site voting, the members want to know why they cannot vote online, because previously there was a vote that was done online and on-site, and they had to rule out the one that was done online. So how are you going to ensure that all members get the chance to vote during the voting period? And also, what do you think leads to this disorganization during the convention, and how would you better the voting process and also the convention process? I'll start with Mr. Lambert Etibot, please. Okay, we have lost Mr. Lambert Etibot, so I'll move on to Mr. Abubakar Mulumba, please. Could you please respond to the question?
Yeah, the convention is a key aspect, a key factor into the organization, that we have a full year of organizing it. So people are always waiting for that. But I'll take you back to the communication aspect. Right now, as we speak, it's not very clear who is gonna. For example, they say Afrigo is coming. It's not very clear if Afrigo is really coming. Some people say it's not coming, but we don't have anyone to come out there and say this is what it is. So we need a convention that is that accommodates everybody, irrespective of where you come from, religion. We need a convention that I emphasize. We have talent here. Looking for Afrigo there. Why don't we first get the talent here and we give them a chance to entertain our people? We should build our people first here before we go elsewhere to look for entertainers. So, as a key aspect of the key aspect of the organization, I'll make sure that the convention is properly organized. That the convention is properly organized. The convention needs to be, for example, the local communities where the convention is going to be, they need 100% responsibility of organizing the convention. The executive just need to act an advisory role, just telling them, advising them here and there, but they should be responsible 100%. But as it is now, it's different. They should look for where to stay. They should look for where the convention is going to be. They should look for everything, the local community, the local chapter. But it's not what it is now. So we should empower everybody, and that's the only place where we can say we are giving back to the community that is organizing. Let them do everything by themselves, rather than us coming in and dictate what we want. And those people are on the ground; they know what their people want better than the executive that lives far away apart.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abubakar Mulumba. I'll have Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalemba to please respond to the question.
Could you please rephrase that question for me? Thank you.
The question is, what do you think leads to the disorganization during the convention, and how would you better the convention? And also, how do you plan on giving a platform to all members to be able to vote, even though they're not on site?
I'm going to start with the last one because I'm very passionate about the last one, because I'm a safety officer in the military. And this is something that I advocated for. I advocated for online voting. And why did I advocate for online voting? During my tenure in council, that came into consideration during our joint leadership when the Electoral Commission made the online guidelines and also on-site. So the BOT came in and said, as the interpreters of the Constitution, which the Constitution gives them the mandate to do so, they relied on a case which was dismissed for mandatigo way back, and they say that they are not advocating for online voting. Okay. If they don't advocating for online voting, based on that case, today we have a pandemic, okay? And everything was changed, Madam Agatha, to remote or physical. The federal government mandated that. Guess what? It does not mandate that. That is UNA. UNA does not listen to the federal government. It just wants to listen to its own. However, the UNA laws are not supreme of the federal government. The federal government takes precedent. The federal laws govern us, and then UNA laws are in supplement. They cannot be repugnant to the federal law. But to our dismay, that's the UNA we have today. And we have lost out on online voting, on people who are not going into Cincinnati to vote. We have cut their mandate, and that is their right. We cannot, as leaders, tell them not to go vote or take away their civic right. That is a no-go. So with that, I come back and tell you that I am advocating in the 2023 Constitution for that to be included so that we can get online voting and do away with all this quagmire of on-site, off-site, who will be there, when to allow it, when not, when politics is at play. The UNAP members deserve better. And that's what I'm to them, that I'm bringing some service where I know that they're going to be able to benefit. I come back to the convention. You said, how do we prepare the convention to make it a success?
How do you plan on what do you think leads to the disorganization during the convention, and how do you plan on better planning the convention?
Let me tell you what leads to disorganization during the convention: lack of transparency. When this convention is planned, it's planned by two people or even one person, I may say. The others are left to guess. We are left to hear from those two people whenever they are comfortable to bring feedback to us. That is a no-go in the executive secretary's office. This office should plan from day zero and give the members the feedback, the research, the procurement process, the vendors. We don't know the vendors. We just see them in through flyers, adverts, and everything. I want to ask, how could a council member sit in council without knowing what the convention is all about? And they just find out the convention on a Facebook or on a social media when they are the leaders of the regions. That is failed leadership in the executive secretary's office. And that is why I come in and say that for conventions to be successful, we need to engage these regional representatives. We need to streamline the transparency for vendors. We need to come out to our people and tell them beforehand, 6 months prior, what they are going to be expecting. And let us conduct a Zoom and let them tell us what else we can improve on, how else we can do it. And when it falls short, let's come back still and tell them where we've fallen short. Like Mr. Members just raised a good question. He said that Africa ban may be coming or not. Okay. So if at all we're in this scenario, we would already have a communication that it's coming, and this communication should be fulfilled. These videos of where I'm going to go and conduct a video, hey, I'm doing this, and they think that that is an endorsement. It ain't an endorsement. It's not official. It is done on your private phone, on your own private time. Come back to us and give us an official statement. Let's see it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Lauren Asimwe.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll have Mr. Lambert Etibot to please answer the question.
Thank you so much, Agatha. I apologize. I ran into a few technical issues and had to reset my link. So first, I wanna put this out for the viewership that we have right now, because what I see here, I can sense the tone in Madam Speaker's voice. If I had the same tone from Mr. Abubakar, I would welcome it. But Madam Speaker here is also part of leadership, okay? She's the Speaker of the Council. The fact that she does...
Okay, I think Mr. Lambert Etibot is still having technical issues. I will give a chance to Mr. Abubakar Mulumba to please respond to your opponent.
Yeah, I'll start where Mr. Lambert was about to start when he went off. My sister, my very good sister, I call her my beautiful sister. She's part of the blame. As a speaker, she had all the powers to change things there, but I don't know what happened. She didn't change anything, and now blaming only the executive, I find it weird. She had all the powers. She didn't come back to us to tell us that, guys, the executive is failing me. What can we do? Because we are the members. We didn't have that chance. We are only hearing bickerings, fights, and if she had come to us earlier and told us that, guys, the executive is failing me, the executive is failing the council, maybe would be having a different approach now. But because she didn't do that, we are now telling everyone that these are two people that were doing the same thing, and they were doing it the way they wanted to do it. That's why I come in as Abu Baker, a mass communicator, to always make sure that anything, bad or good, has to be taken to the people for them to chew and see if it's chewable. If it's not chewable, then they advise what to do. But the fact that these two people were doing hide and seek between themselves, they are both to blame. So we can't only blame the executive. The council also is partly to blame. They didn't do their work.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abubakar Mulumba, for the response. Miss Maureen Asimwe, do you have any response to Mr. Abubakar?
Yeah, and I'll start with Mr. Lambert. Mr. Lambert, response that I have a tone. I've never spoken differently, and I don't want to come here and lie to people that I have a smooth tone, because this has always been my tone. And if everybody knows me, that's how I am in my leadership and in my tone. That's how I lead. So my tone shouldn't diffuse you from doing the right thing. Next, I go to Mr. Abubakar, that I'm also responsible. Mr. Abubakar, I gotta tell you, I've never run for executive secretary. I've been running as council. And I'm telling you, when I ran as council, I wrote every discerning statement. I have discerning leaders out there. I have had all the talk and I've walked the talk. I have been a feedback girl, and I always call myself feedback. And I always call everybody and give them feedback, whether it's from my community, whether it's on myself, whether it's from anybody. I'm always delivering feedback. We have a joint forum. If somebody promises me they're going to work on something, there is no reason why I'm bringing it to you, Mr. Mulumba. I'll only bring it to you if they've totally failed. All our promises this time in the joint forum have always been, we are working on it. This is what we're doing. And we gave the chance, okay? Until when everything has failed. And when it failed, we were always raising the banner. I have never kept quiet at all. I'm not a silent person and I'm not a silent leader, but I've never run for executive secretary. I've been running as a speaker, and the council is not anywhere in the Constitution of 2010 involved in the convention. However, they should just be informed so that they inform their constituencies on what's going on, which the executive secretary did not do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maureen Asimwe. I'll have Mr. Lambert Etibot. I'll give you the chance to answer the question because you've been having technical issues. And then I'll also give you the chance to respond to any of your opponents if you have a response for them. We'll start with answering the question, which was, what do you think leads to disorganization during the convention, and how would you better the convention planning? Also, how would you manage giving a platform or a chance to all the UNA members, who you said you're only answerable to the UNA members, but those who are not on site are not given a chance to vote, and they would all want to be given a chance to vote whether they've attended the convention or not? How would you do that for them?
Thank you so much, Agatha. That's a wonderful question. But first of all, the convention is just not about voting. The issue of online voting, being that it's not catered for in the Constitution, it could not be done this time. I think what we need to understand is our leaders or our candidates who come to run for these offices have to have a tendency to play victims, okay? The BOT looked at that issue and they figured out if we did that and some people lost, we would have more chaos that would put UNA through the history it had before, okay, where candidates go and push for lawsuits and so forth. I'm not gonna go into that detail, but that was a good decision for this particular election. Why? Because After this election, we will not have a dispute. Those who will lose, those who will win, will win. And the organization won't go into any divisive or anything that will cause members to pick sides. We won't get there. So that was a good move on the part of the BOT. When it comes to preparation of the convention, I must say this is the first convention that we are actually preparing as the leadership that was elected in 2019. But I want to say this: we did the 2020 online convention. It was a success. For those of you that know my work ethic, those of you that know the things that we do when we get together, I execute them. Okay. What Madam Speaker is sharing today is just, I mean, I listen and I'm like, okay, if you were paying attention in the meetings and doing what you were supposed to be doing, we wouldn't be in this place today. Madam Speaker, you're so big on misinformation. Okay, you shared the wrong information about the hotel. When we told you the hotel was booked, you thought it would help out to call it a campaign card. You shared to the members that we're keeping hotel rooms for our voters and things like that. Today, a lot of your members from your community have actually been reaching out to us, and some of them are going to be staying out of the hotel because you misinformed them. If, again, I would say this, if it was Mr. Abu Baker that was doing this, I would say he's not a leader, so he's not informed. You were part of this leadership. The only thing you can do is share what your leadership is putting out there. You chose to put your own information out there, and you've been misinforming people, giving them information contrary to what we're sharing. Madam Agatha, to answer your question, in this convention, we'll leave it for the members to decide. There are challenges that are beyond our control. Okay, we're still in the pandemic times, and certain things do really affect what's happening right now. But the convention we have that we're having in Cincinnati is gonna be one of those that members will be like, okay, this is now the UNA we want to look up to. And it's unfortunate for me that I have to organize the convention as well as campaign. But again, the membership does know, and we're accountable to the membership. We'll leave it to them to decide. So I yield back to you, Agatha, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. You have said that you're accountable to the members, the membership, and those members who are not attending the convention this year are very much concerned on how they can vote if they do want to vote, even if they don't make it for the convention. So how would you help them in that?
Agatha, as an incumbent, I would ask, who are those members? You see, our constitution in UNA has a clearly defined way on how members are supposed to voice out their concerns, okay? Again, I fought this in UNA leadership throughout the 2 years. People have a way of generalizing statements, or people are complaining about this, people are complaining about this. Who are those people, and how are they voicing out those concerns? Because as a member, those concerns should have been written down and petitioned to the BOT while that was happening. Today, we have an electoral commission that has released guidelines on how that election is going to be conducted in Cincinnati. Okay, this is something an independent body has done. We have no control over it. That is what their guidelines are. Those are the guidelines we work with.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalemba, do you have any response?
Yes, I do. Amazing, Mr. Edward, saying that I give out misinformation. I gotta tell you, Mr. Edward, you booked 400 rooms or 500 rooms for people? The convention is really more than 400 or 500 people. You yourself advertise and say the hotel rooms are being sold out. You yourself gave out the information. Now you come here and say Maureen gave out the information. Maureen, all she did was to get alternative hotels. I have people I've given links to. They have booked themselves. And I'm one of the people who got an alternative hotel. I'm not staying in the Hyatt because I found it fully booked. Is that misinformation, Mr. Lambert? It is the right thing to do. As a leader, we look for alternative methods, which we did. And now our people also have. Even though my people reach out to you, Mr. Etibot, they got to. You are the incumbent. We have to refer these people to you so that you do your job. Your job hasn't ended. So for you to come and tell me that I'm supposed to be the one, I'm running for office, but I'm already doing your job because I'm referring these people to you. I'm giving them your number, and I'm even texting you, and I'm even informing you. I'm just doing the due diligence of the representative in my constituency. So, Mr. Etibo, that is not misinformation. That is the information you put out that the hotel is sold out. I have the email and I put it out. If I say it's sold out because you said that. That's the
Thank you
information.
so much, Miss Asimwe.
So welcome to me, ma'am. So just know
I'll,
that.
I will go to Mr. Abubakar Mulumba if you have any response.
Yeah, I will still continue saying the same thing, that the two brother and sister should take full responsibility in front of the community and say and be courteous enough to say, we are sorry things went wrong the other time. So vote for Abubakar Mulumba. Is capable of doing things right.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abubakar Mulumba. I'll have Mr. Lambert Etibot if you have any response.
Oh, thank you. No, Madam Agatha, I won't be going back and forth with the speaker because to me, she's also denying what she's done. When we put out the communication for the hotel wasn't sold out. By then, Madam Speaker and her team, including the Vice President, at the time we're busy petitioning for the convention to be held again online, okay? Or we should have a hybrid kind of convention. It was a good idea. They were just petitioning it at the wrong time. What I need to emphasize today is that if you notice what we're dealing with today, it's more like a continuation of the 2019 election, okay? And this is not going to help us as an organization. I could go back and forth with Madam Speaker. What we're doing today, we understand there are some faults that are at play. There are certain things we're not 100% accurate, okay? But we've done the best we can. And we're going to deliver a very wonderful convention to the members, just like we did the online convention, okay? Now, there is a lot of campaign language that people are using, and it doesn't help. I see Madam Speaker is using a lot of it. It's not going to help. We have over 350 new members that have been added to UNA this time around. We had 1,292 members in Chicago for that election. We dropped down to 700. There's a reason why that happens. When members come into UNA, they are not held, and they are not like, they don't stay because people recruit them just for an election and they are dumped. Today, the system we've implemented, which is the membership system on the website, has given us a very good setup of members who we have all their information, and we can continue directing programs to them. So when I hear people complaining, we have an emailing system that has all these members' emails on there. So those members are getting UNA information. For those that are not getting that UNA information, some have changed emails and we're updating that information. It's not something you do overnight. People have busy lives, people are doing so many things. They only get to UNA websites when they have a chance, and that's when they reach out to us. So this is a work in progress, and we're going to get it done.
Lambert Atibot, I'm going to have to cut you short there. So one of the audience, there's one person in the audience who asked the question. There's two different conventions that they're seeing going on out there. So how did that come to happen? And how are you, if you're elected, how are you going to manage to unite both conventions and have one convention for the community to not have that confusion of two different conventions? I'll start with Miss Maureen Asimwe Kalimba, please.
I love the fact that you're always starting with me, so I love it. Anyway, this is what I'm saying with this convention piece, Madam Agatha. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I need to be sleeping. I have a 5 o'clock flight to take tomorrow, so that's why I'm closing out all the time. But this is what I want to say with the UNA and UNA causes, because I think that's what it's being referred to here. I want to say that by the time somebody decides to break away from the main organ, you gotta let those people be. Okay? I'm not going to say that I'm going to be here to pull people back in UNA, but I'll make that when they see my product, they themselves will walk the walk and come back to UNA. I'm not going to be here to compete with the other organ, because that is not my mandate. My mandate is to make my organ or my organization shine and do the wonderful things for its members. So I'll leave the UNA causes the way it is, because they formed it with a purpose and a goal, and I'm not for that purpose and that goal. I decided to become a UNA member, and I'm going to look at UNA as the organ that I will always work with. And I'm not going to shun away any person from UNA causes, but I'm not going to close UNA causes.
Okay,
Period.
thank you so much. Mr. Abubakar Mulumba, do you have any response to that question? Mr. Abubakar Mulumba might, probably he has not heard what I asked. So I'll ask Mr. Lambert to please answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Agatha. UNA causes, really, I wouldn't like to talk about UNA causes that much, because it's a business entity that's not set up the way UNA is set up. Ours is a member-driven organization that changes leadership. We're going into an election, and we may get new leadership, or some of us may stay in office, which is not the case with the UNA causes. Theirs is just, I believe, a team of people that are not changing. They don't hold elections. They don't have that kind of structure. Okay, but it's really up to the members. Like I said earlier, we are over 150,000 people living in North America. It's the choice of the members. We cannot be always fighting against each other. We are not in competition per se. It's the other organization that tries to make it look like we're in competition. The only request we would have there is that they stop, they take out the word UNA, because what a lot of members do not understand is that some of our people failing to get visas and things like that from Uganda are failing because they do not get the right information. They go to the embassy, the convention they paid for is in Cincinnati, and they end up going to the embassy to say they are going to Miami and things like that, you know. But it has a lot of impacts. I know our biggest competition is usually with artists, but that is also gonna end. Again, it's their prerogative to keep going, as ours is to continue marketing our convention to the members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much all for honoring this debate, and we have come to the end of the UNA executive debate. We have managed to exhaust a lot of topics, and I hope you all have a chance to make an informed decision. Thank you so much for being here. I hope the audience gets to vote for the best fit candidates. You've all gotten to hear what they all had to say. Thank you all for being here. Thanks to the candidates for being here, and thanks to the public for watching. Have a good night. I have been your host, Agatha Lois Goshalia, and you have been watching Evi from Wengula special edition. It was the executive debate, and you've all heard what everyone had to say. Have yourself a good night.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Oh my, we're still live. Mr. Salong, we're still live.
Yes, I'm still live, and I wanted to ensure that I thank you while you're still live. Thank you very much for what you have done. Thank you for helping us go through what I must say is the first offsite UNA debate that I'm aware of. I am very thankful to the candidates for honoring, all of them, for honoring our invite and coming here and participate. I can't say thank you enough. Okay, so thank you very much, and thank you, Agatha, for hosting them. And UNA members, there you have it. The decision is yours. Nga bwe ngamba nti okulonda kwammwe choice yo ffe tuliyita information mwe musalawo. All of you should come to Cincinnati, and please endeavor to attend all the programs that they are. The annual general meeting, very important. Today, this morning, this afternoon, I had a chance to speak to a wonderful guy, Nelson, who is coming to be presenting in the business forum. That's you must not miss that one, because the little bit that he revealed to me, I think all of us need to hear what he has to say, and so much more. Thank you so much, Una. Thank you. Bulaya mwebale nnyo nga bwe ŋŋamba agafa mu bwengula special edition kyala Agatha yagihostinze, mwebaza nnyo, mbaagaliza wiiki ennungi, tulabagane Cincinnati, musule bulungi.